What if the big question in American history is actually really simple? Are free people capable of designing their own government by reason and reflection? Or do we end up being ruled by accident and force? Well, that's the challenge that Alexander Hamilton throws down in Federalist Paper No. 1. And today we're going to unpack what he meant, why he wrote it, and why it still matters. I'm Matt Haskell. I'm a high school history teacher, and this is another episode of Things You Should Know by Being Alive. And hey, let's set the stage here, right? So it's 1787, the Revolutionary War is over, the Articles of Confederation are struggling. States are bickering over things like trade and commerce, the money is a mess, the economy is terrible, borders between the states are fuzzy, and Shays' Rebellion has just rattled Massachusetts, and a lot of people are scared, for a number of reasons. And, well, a new constitution, a new plan of government has been drafted in Philadelphia, but it's not the law yet. So 9 of the 13 states have to ratify the Constitution, and New York, a major commercial hub and geographically important, is on the fence about the Constitution. So Alexander Hamilton looks at this moment and says, we need to persuade the public clearly and honestly. So he teams up with James Madison and John Jay, and together they write 85 essays under the pen name Publius. And essay number 1, well, that's Hamilton's opening pitch. So a quick note here, why write as Publius? Well, because the goal here isn't, celebrity. The goal is persuasion. And when Publius is the pen name, it signals a public-minded argument, not personal fame. And Hamilton wants readers to focus on ideas and not personalities. And right away, he frames the debate like this. So, will we prove that societies of men are capable of establishing good government through reason and choice? Or will we confess that political systems are forever decided by accident and force? That's not just flowery language, that's the thesis for the entire series of the Federalist Papers. So, Hamilton uses Federalist No. 1 as a mission statement. He says, this decision about the Constitution is huge. It's not a normal policy vote. It's about the future of the Union. Now, the Articles of Confederation aren't about a union. They're about a league of friendship. And so this change to a union is a little iffy. Hamilton's going to admit here that the Constitution they've drafted isn't perfect. He even admits that passions are going to run high over this thing, but he calls on the audience who's reading this to judge it fairly, to think beyond fear, beyond faction, and beyond personal interest. And he promises what will happen in the series of papers that are coming is that they will explain the defects of the Articles of Confederation. They'll show how the proposed Constitution fixes those problems, and then answer objections honestly, and then make the case why a union needs to be created and preserved. So let's look at and translate the problems that Hamilton sees with the Articles of Confederation. Number 1, the national government cannot act decisively. It asks states to do things, but it can't make them. It has no power to tax directly. There's no reliable way to raise an army. In foreign nations, we're going to notice that particular weakness. Number 2, states are drifting into rivalry. There's friction here. There's trade disputes, currency issues, regional grudges. And the Union is more slogan with the Articles of Confederation than a structure. And Hamilton argues that survival requires a stronger framework. No king, not tyranny, but a republic that can actually function. Now, Hamilton warns the ratification debate for this Constitution will be messy. And some opponents, he says, are driven by genuine principle. They fear centralized power. And that concern is real. But others, he argues, have personal interests at stake. Maybe they hold local offices that might shrink in importance under the new government. Maybe they benefit from the status quo, so why change? And here Hamilton is blunt. Do not assume every argument that you hear is pure. Look at motives, but more importantly here, look at evidence. So let's park on the big theme here, reason and reflection versus accident and force. So reason and reflection is Hamilton's way of saying, well, can we as citizens calmly consider arguments, read, deliberate, and then choose a durable system? Accident and force is his shorthand for, do things just happen to us? Do we, just kind of lurch along from crisis to crisis? Do the loudest voices or the strongest fists make the rules? So Federalist number one is a dare to be grown-ups, to deliberate, not to drift. So Hamilton outlines then the roadmap for the essays that will follow after this. One, he wants to talk about, the importance of the Union to political safety and prosperity. He also, in number two, he wants to look at the weaknesses of the Articles of Confederation, because boy, are they ever. And then three, how the Constitution will strengthen the Union between the states. Four, how a Republican, small r form of government can be large and still work. Five, how checks and balances can control ambition within the government. And six, how rights and liberty are better protected with structure, protected more so than with slogans. So he's telling the readers, stick with me. I'm going to prove it step by step. Now, something easy to miss in the Federalist Papers is Hamilton's tone. He is confident. He believes in the Constitution, but he avoids saying that it's perfect. He invites scrutiny of the document. He invites a skeptical reader to test the claims within the document. And that tone really matters because it models what he's asking citizens to do: engage, think, challenge, decide. So Hamilton worries about disunion. He imagines the continent splitting into rival confederations. He imagines foreign powers, playing American regions against each other. He imagines commercial conflicts turning into real conflicts. To him, the Constitution isn't just a new rule book, it's a peace plan. It's also a power plan. It's not arbitrary power, but it's power with guardrails so the Republic can act when it must. Now, Hamilton does foreshadow critics who will say, the Constitution creates a consolidated national Leviathan, Thomas Hobbes. Now, he will answer, no, the power is divided. States keep meaningful roles, so the federal government gets the power it needs to fix what the Articles could not. He also expects people to say, large republics always fail. Well, he and Madison will argue the opposite. A larger republic can actually better control the factions because no single faction can easily dominate everyone else. So he's previewing themes that you'll see later on in like Federalist 10, Federalist 51, and others. But Hamilton isn't preaching abstract virtue. He's asking for, a practical kind of civic virtue. Listen to arguments you don't already agree with. Don't get played by fear. Ask, which plan gives us stability, liberty, and the capacity to act? He's saying your vote on the Constitution is a test of us as a people. Do we govern ourselves with our heads, or do we let events govern us? And this wasn't just like a cloistered academic debate. The essays ran in newspapers where everyday guys could read them. And New York was the pressure point. If New York rejected the Constitution, momentum for it could collapse. And so Hamilton wrote fast, revised fast, and responded to anti-Federalist arguments in real time. It was public education like at high speed. So why does any of this matter in 2025? Because the choice Hamilton describes is not frozen in 1787. Every time we face a constitutional question, a national crisis, or a separation of powers dispute, we're replaying the basic issue from Federalist 1. Will we use reason and reflection? Will we examine evidence, read opposing views, decide carefully? Or do we let the accident and force win again? And so the loudest headline, the biggest outrage, the fastest rumor. Hamilton is asking us, across the centuries, to do better. So, Federalist number 1 is a challenge. It says, prove that free people can build a durable government by thought and not by panic. And Hamilton believed that we could. The question is whether we still believe that now. I'm Matt Hasquin, and this has been Things You Should Know by Being Alive. If this helped you see the Constitution a little clearer, give me a follow, share it with a friend, and tell me, which Federalist paper you'd like to see next. Thanks for watching.